Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of The Letter. We just had the incredibly awkward drunken fight, we brought Hannah downstairs, and Zach went on and had a good time with Hannah, and Becca left. Well, now we're going to see what happens when Becca leaves. Chatter has exploded throughout the whole ballroom once I return. Worried murmurs, clicking of tongues, and inappropriate gossip filters through the thick tension in the room. Most of them haven't even left the premises, and they're already talking about it. Tomorrow it'll be on the news for sure, in every local broadsheet and tabloid in Luxburn. No wonder Luke's knee-deep into damage control. With the scandalous woman gone, he has turned his attention in the media covering the event. Oh boy. I mean, I know that Zachary was covering the event, but, it didn't click to me that he was one of other people, just the media. You know, he's taking photos, but there are other people doing video, I'm sure. Oh boy. Though, so far, he isn't faring well in the cleanup department.
Now, people, we all know the drill. I'm sure you're all itching to get a start on those articles.
Good thing Zachary isn't here. I can't imagine a man of his temperament dealing with someone like him.
But if I read one word, see one picture about this come morning, even a single shot of the bloody wine glass the harlot held, you will all lose more than your jobs.
Ooh, that is not damage control. Luke's diatribe goes on for another few minutes, after which he excuses himself out of the area. There's a brief lull, a reluctant pause, before the place comes astir again, but shortly the buzz returns. Dancers have once again taken to the floor and their guests' excited talk begins anew. But I couldn't care less about any of this now. Simply standing in the middle of it already gives me a headache. When the shock has faded, I just feel bone-tired. I've accomplished nothing of what I've come here for, and apparently Ashton has disappeared sometime during the commotion. I'm not sure what pisses me off more. That he ignored me the whole evening and might have just left without saying anything. Probably not. Or knowing he obviously has some other motive for being here. Yeah. Can't he at least trust his own friends for that?
He didn't have to hide it from me.
It could be police business, though. It's the last straw. No longer in the mood, I grab my bag and head out, more than ready to end the disastrous night as early as possible. Well, bye. As it turns out, the night isn't done with me yet. Because no sooner has the porter closed the door behind me, I find myself standing alone in the foyer with one Luke Wright. Oof! And I thought I was embarrassed yesterday. No sign of Hannah or Zachary. Yeah, that did make me nervous. They went out and had a great time, but, Luke doesn't know about that yet? Just him and the agitated clicks his shoes make, while he treads around the empty room. Away from the media's prying eyes and their guests' judging stares, should be an apostrophe after the S, for guests, it's easy to glean how much this scandal has him shaken. No kidding, though! Not to the point where he has utterly lost his composure, he appears to have mastered himself enough not to. But an ample opening is there for a nervous edge to show on the lines of his shoulders.
What do you know?
The man is not as tough as he makes himself out to be. Well, we've seen that. Sure, I've seen this before, briefly, in that 1 second in the hallway at school, and also him folding before big emotional scenes. It's a strange matter, however, to witness this out in the open. Behind closed doors, this is the real Luke Wright. Though maybe that's because he hasn't noticed my presence yet, busy as he is with his thinking. If he's aware, I doubt he'll be acting like this. His pride is one thing he will always wear with him. Even now, when I place a gentle hand on his shoulders and do a cheap slasher movie jump scare, and he whirls around to face me. No little hello or anything, you okay? No, let's just grab him from behind and scare the hell out of him. There's a second-long moment of anger flashing across his features, no kidding, before it dissolves into confusion. He tucks it away as quickly as he can, but it does nothing to change the impression I've built of the man in my head.
Daisy, must you be everywhere?
We've only met 3 times, Luke. Quit the dramatics. Besides, shouldn't you be aware of who gets invited to your party?
If I was, there wouldn't be any of that scene tonight.
Yeah.
That munter wouldn't even get an inch within this property. I'd ban her off Luxburn if I could.
You know, as much as I like Luke's theatrics, I might have mentioned this before, but I really do love the low, serious voice. I'd ban her off Luxburn if I could. He probably pawns everything off to their servants and Hannah. Pompous, elitist douche.
Did you just come out here to lecture me about it? Because, Daisy, I can already feel one coming tomorrow. I don't need to hear one from you tonight.
You are a very unpleasant man.
Oh, what is that? Yeah, I was trying to place the movie. It reminds me of The Wizard of Oz. You're a very bad man.
So I've been told. Will that be all? If so, I suggest you go back and join every bloody goss in that room.
Not everything. As unpleasant and frustrating talking with this man is, he deserves the benefit of the doubt at least. The questions and criticisms aren't lacking, of course, but right this instant there's only one that comes to mind. I mean, two that come to mind. I actually plan on saving this one. Is it true you should be with your wife? Is it true it's none of my damn business, even though that's by far the juicier option? You should be with your wife? Plus?
You know,
Plus?
moving over here isn't going to fix this mess.
Yeah, full bar for Luke? Fucking right. And I can't even make it work with my boyfriend wannabe.
Again with the lecture.
Will you stop calling it that?
Very well, what should we call this then? A heart-to-heart? Please don't, I might puke. And just so you know, I don't want to talk about feelings. Ever.
That does not surprise me.
This isn't one, all right? It's just a friendly concern. Bloody hell, can't you just take it for what it is?
He pauses at that. Suddenly he doesn't know what to do with his hands, and in the end he simply stuffs them back to his pockets and sulks. There probably aren't many people who tell him that. He's a difficult man to get along with, after all. I honestly won't give him a second of my time if I didn't see a different side to him. Dealing with him requires more than patience. When the awkwardness passes, mostly coming from him, he merely glances away. But the tightness in his shoulders has eased, and when he speaks again, despite his rather rude choice of words, none has any venom in it.
Friendly concern, right. While we're at it, I should mention that Hana used to call that Viper friend. Now I think she might want to strangle the Munta if she sees her again. After she's done with me, of course.
That's right. Luke was more buddy-buddy with the husband, and Hannah with the wife, but who even knows what any of that is anymore?
I doubt she's going to do anything like that.
What do you even know about this?
Oh, I know enough. You may look like a sleazy douche, and you still are, by the way.
It's almost comical how fast his face shifts from mild disdain to offended, but I don't let it distract me. These things need to be said, and he needs to hear them, even though they're coming from some meddling stranger.
But you have your few good moments. I might even say that you're a decent person, if I'm in the mood. Now go. If you really love her, you've got to try and fix this yourself.
That is true. When there's a disaster, the last thing you want is for a victim of the disaster to come to you. You should go to them and do damage control immediately, because if they come to you with complaints, it's all the worse.
Maybe tomorrow.
Luke!
Daisy, did you see her earlier? Was that the face of a wife who wants to have a chat with her cheating husband?
No. But waiting is not going to help.
Well, at least you admitted you did something wrong. Good for you. How about a star? Would you like a star to go with that good deed?
Don't get used to it. Do you realize how awkward this is?
Dude, literally every conversation with this guy has been painfully awkward. Usually on our end, though, so this is a little bit of a turnaround.
Oh, I do.
Before I've even thought about what to say, I have known there can only be two ways this can go. Play your choice! Nah, I don't think so. All things considered, it isn't as bad as I've assumed. However, there are still some things my brand of encouragement can't fix. Like Luke being willing to hang out with any random girl in the freaking bar when he's pissed drunk. I don't know about Rochelle, but she's not Luke's only interest, it seems. His marital problems first and foremost, his attitude follows right after. Concerns aside, I can't help with those. Those are things only he can fix, and it's definitely not by standing around here bantering.
Don't worry, I was just about to leave. Feel free to continue with your brooding once I'm gone. I'm not going to tell anyone. Cross my heart.
You think this is funny, Daisy?
Laughter is the only response I give him. With a slight wave of my hand, I end it right there and walk away. TLDR, stop sulking. Although I can't resist the urge to glance back before I leave, if only to have one last look at the man he really is. But the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it. A change in Luke's composure or ghost? Ghost! That is creepy, though. Damn. That effect with the eyes is great. Looming, hovering over his shoulders, drawn to him like a moth to a flame. I mean, I know it means the same thing as, like white on rice, but moth to a flame implies that the ghost is in danger. Moths are drawn to flames and then they freaking die. Like the first time I stepped inside this place in search of Isabella. He was there too, wasn't he? That man, along with his wife and another person, Miss McCulloch? And that shadow. No. A woman now. Her. No longer a dark blur. Terror rushes through every vein in my body. A crippling sensation gripping every part of me while she stares at me with a glare filled with nothing but hate and venom. It's like staring at the eyes of a woman I've unknowingly robbed of something precious. I try to say something. A warning. But before I can gather my wits and voice it out, someone shuts the door behind me. As if to keep outsiders away from the secrets this mansion possesses. Creepy. The brush of fresh air against my cheeks does little to dampen the chill in my bones. By now, the sensation, the fear and disquiet, it leaves whenever I see her, is familiar enough for me. Already it has made a home in my nerves. I don't even notice my trembling hands until I cross my arms across my chest. The cold from the tips of my fingers seeps through the thick material of my shirt. Neither of it helps bring together some semblance of coherent thought in my head. But I know I should...
Someone has to tell that douche.
I start walking back before fear can cripple me again. It's not wise. Returning, that is, especially after what happened. But Hannah's still an old friend, and Luke doesn't deserve whatever misfortune that letter might bring. Yeah, being brutally murdered is a bit much, I think. I can't just leave those two in there. Isabella's right. She's real, and there's something she wants from everyone who has read that...
Becca, where'd you go off to?
Oh, finally, Ashton.
If you're done here, let's go. I'll get you back to the city.
My mistake, the second his voice cuts through the crisp night air, is that I've allowed my annoyance to get the better of me. Fuming, purpose forgotten, I whirl around and march towards him. One accusation after another piles at the tip of my tongue, ready to be hurled at any moment. There's no hesitation holding me back when I fling it at him. That straight face he keeps as I do so doesn't help temper my anger either. It only makes me want to slap some more sense into him.
Shouldn't I be the one asking you that?
Becca, I've been waiting here the whole time. I told you I hate parties like...
And before that, where have you been the entire evening?
Right then and there, I might have forgiven him, if he'd shown some ounce of remorse for leaving me like that. Maybe he could have looked away, given me a sign that my assumptions might be right. He doesn't even need to put them into words. A single gesture of confirmation is all I need. Rather, what I get is the same impassive look. He does that whenever he can't disclose anything. He does that whenever he's lying. Does he lie? In the face of it, amidst the thick tension, a frustrated huff is the only thing I could summon.
Be that way. Fine. Suit yourself.
No more words. After everything I've seen and heard tonight, I'm already too exhausted for those. So, without speaking any further, I simply walk past him and stomp over to, surely, his car. Although before I could pull open the door, he calls out. One hand outstretched, a gentle weight on my shoulders.
Wait, Becca.
He pauses, his brows furrowing and lips curving into a slight frown. I can almost see the gears turning in his head while he tries to piece together everything he wants to say. Before, perhaps I might have waited patiently for those. He's not a man fond of using words to express himself. More often than not, any gesture of honesty will only come out blunt and coarse when forced. But today, for one reason or another, I simply can't summon that forbearance. This is literally the one thing you've been waiting for, but alright, fine, let's just ignore it and delay the anime series by like 6 more episodes.
Ashton, if you're just going to waste my time again...
Becca, listen. I don't know how else...
That much is obvious. Why don't you just take the whole bloody night? Go on. I can wait until next year. Better yet, why don't you just keep it all to yourself like you always do? It's not like...
Rebecca, will you hear me out first?
The silence I can offer him, but whether I'll believe what he's about to say is still up for debate. A very long debate.
I honestly don't know how else to put this. I'm aware your parents have some kind of history with Hannah Wright, and somehow you're friends with her. But you should stay away from these people for now. Especially the husband.
Especially the husband with a ghost around him. You know what? Decent advice.
Who? Luke?
His expression deepens into a scowl at my mention of the name, but whatever opinion he has, he doesn't immediately voice. Still, something about it has greatly displeased him, evident to the stiff note his tone assumes.
Yeah, he's bad news.
I mean, yeah. It's my turn to frown this time. What does he mean by that? Could we please score some points with Ash? Both of these are very similar.
Care to explain your reasons?
Yes! We're in the money. I've not meant for it to sound as harsh as it does, but anger and frustration have never been a good match in me, particularly in nights like this. Let me just check something, because apparently we came off harsh. What if I do the other?
Oh, what does he have to do with this?
Yeah, no, we're better the way we started. I chose correctly.
Care to
It's not surprising when Ashton jerks back as if I've struck him. Okay. For a fleeting moment, something akin to hurt darts across his features, and this is the positive answer. His eyes narrowing and hands closing in tightly into a fist at his sides. Wow, both hands into one fist? Then, swiftly, he glances away and shifts his focus on the line of trees nearby, like an answer can be gleaned from the dark expanse.
I'm really sorry, Becca.
What is it for? For the party? The vague answers he continues to give? Does it include all those times before this, the year's worth of it? I don't doubt its sincerity. However, at the moment, the forgiveness he's asking isn't something I'm all too willing to hand, furious as I am. It's frankly a wonder how I can keep myself from raising my voice at him.
We'll talk about this tomorrow, and you better have a proper answer for me by then.
There's a brief hesitation before I step away, a short moment of wanting to say more, of waiting if he has anything to add. He's only silent, eyes still trained at a distance. It is the last glimpse I see of him before I climb inside his car. If the door slams close with the same force as the anger I'm holding, its sound merely vanishes into the night, unnoticed. He follows soon after, and shortly we're on our way back to the city. Yet even with the city's bright lights welcoming us, the dense, somber air from the mansion still lingers. The moon is almost at its highest by the time we reach Salemwell. Even after our respective heads have cooled off, the atmosphere within the car remains rife with unspoken tension. This isn't a problem so easily fixed with a few handshakes. Quite frankly, I don't know what will. Ashton himself has no idea what to do when he alights and dawdles awkwardly in the middle of the car park, unsure. It almost seems like he's having an internal debate, whether he should say goodbye or mutter another apology. I wonder if that'll be a player choice later. I could have driven him away purely out of spite the second I've gotten off. Still, old habits die hard. Also, no need to be a dick. It's late and Ashton's flat is on the other side of the city. Irritation might still rear its head every time I look at him right now, but I'm not too cruel to put him up on another long drive. Especially when he still appears as if he hasn't gotten any rest.
You can borrow the couch.
I throw the keys to my flat his way before a protest forms on his lips. Although he catches it with ease, he eyes it with a wary expression and shoots a puzzled glance my way.
You haven't been forgiven. We're still going to have that talk, believe me. But I'm not about to send you out on another drive looking like that. It's late. Go get some rest.
We're setting aside a lot of loose ends like this, but he appears to have accepted that reason, at least in the meantime. He does give me another questioning glance when I shove past him, pulling my mobile in the process.
Where are you going? I thought...
You go ahead upstairs. I need to contact Professor Andrew.
Andrew? Why would you... Oh, no. Please. Is this that thing Isabella said this morning? Again? I already gave her my word, Becca. I'll look into this BRC crap. No need to drag the old guy into it.
Of course he's still skeptical. It makes one wonder if he's even seeing anything at all. Figures his curse will stay away from the scoffer. But this is another loose end tonight that I can't just leave alone, Ashton's beliefs notwithstanding. It just so happens that it's one I can delve into using means other than taking a look at the mansion itself.
Ashton, do you really think I still give a shite after that stunt you pulled tonight?
No, but this is...
I've spent so many years with him to know this is about to turn into another argument. Before he can finish it, I cut him off with a firm raise of my hand.
Look, I don't care. There are weird things happening around here. And yes, it's Isabella's brand of weird. Ghostly voices, strange sounds, and a bloody woman sitting at the back of my car. You don't have to believe me. And I no longer have the patience to convince you, so just Leave me be, Ashton.
He doesn't push it, growing quiet instead, although I know he has a whole case of it prepared inside his head. But there's a reluctant shift in his movement when he steps away from our conversation. Short of climbing the stairs, he stops, turns to face me with an expression almost too conflicted. I do have to wonder, is this a Jacob's Ladder situation where the one guy is like, nah, man, you're full of it. I haven't seen anything, but he's just doing a really good job of pretending he's the one normal one?
Are you really sure
What?
that there was something? That you've been, seeing things?
Yes, I'm very, very certain. Now go! And you better not break anything in there. The last time I let you stay over, it was that statuette Belle gave me. You haven't even replaced that one.
The last of my reprimand goes both unheard and unanswered as he disappears behind the stairs. If things aren't as strained, he might have a quip or two about that, followed by light banter. Instead, for a long moment I am left staring after him. There's something in the way he asked it that nags. Coupled with his expression, the whole exchange just feels unsettling. One that doesn't fade even as I gather my thoughts and shift my focus on another, even as I dial Professor Andrews' number. And that is when it clicks. During the long wait for the professor, one stray thought emerges from the unease. Ashton has not intended for his question to be a jibe. It's concern. For what, though? For my well-being? The letter's curse? The woman I mentioned? The answers for those will have to wait, however. Finally, the call connects, and Professor Andrews' voice echoes from the receiver.
Professor Andrew?
Rebecca? It's late. What can I do for you?
I know, I'm sorry, but this is a bit urgent.
After all, this is a more pressing matter. Our lives might be at stake, and we're still in the dark.
Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you to do me a favor.
Oh. Okay, Sunday. We're moving along. Professor Andrew Clark has agreed to meet with me 2 days later in front of Luxburn's public library. He has other commitments, but being a longtime family friend has its perks. I have my parents' connections to thank for that. Of course, I'm not the sort to impose on him often, but the situation is... well, it's not entirely bad, although it does require calling in a few favors from friends like him. Without his signature, I won't be able to gain access to the library's restricted section. If I want to get more in-depth information on the Ermengarde mansion, that is, not simply what they choose to show to the general public. As much as I hate to admit it, there's always something people censor, and whatever it is, I won't ever find it in the general section. It has to be what they're keeping here, beyond the public eye. The thought of that alone makes me antsy. Thankfully, I don't have to brood over it. The wait for the professor doesn't last long. He never did enjoy making people wait. Likewise, he dislikes people who are tardy. He arrives 5 minutes after I do, greeting me with that kind smile and casual wave of his hand. I haven't seen him in so long, but it appears he hasn't changed much. His familiar presence alone is enough for a fond smile to spread across my face.
Professor Andrew.
Rebecca, didn't I say long ago you can drop the professor?
You know I can't possibly do that. Even if I can. It feels disrespectful to call you by your name alone.
Both you and Ashton never listen to this old man. Kids these days.
All right. But just for today, since you're doing me a huge favor, Andrew.
I guess you simply can't have it all, even at this old age. But pleasantries aren't what we're here for, yes? You mentioned you needed a permit.
Yes, sir, if that's okay with you.
More than fine. Anything in pursuit of knowledge, as they say.
He hands me the permit without further prompting. And just like he promised, he's also written a recommendation after his signature. Not that I can read it, but he's a professor of psychology and ethnography. This is more than enough to get me to those files. I mutter a small thanks before slipping it into my pocket. Although when I look back up, his brows are furrowed, the very face of curiosity. Not surprising, considering how vague I've been during our little talk over the phone. Right then and there, I've decided to tell him if he ever asks. Maybe not all of it, but stuff he needs to know. It's the least I can do to thank him. As expected, true to his inquisitive nature, he asks.
If you don't mind, though, I know you've always been an eager learner, but may I know what in the restricted section that piqued your curiosity?
It's the Ermengarde mansion, sir.
He's quick to raise an eyebrow at that, and for a while I fear he'll take the slip of paper back. Is there something in what I said?
The ones they have out in the general isn't enough?
I'm, hoping for a more in-depth read, sir. More about the history and the people who once lived there. The general section doesn't have anything much on that.
Oh, I see. Well, you certainly aren't the first one to be enamored with that place. It doesn't shock me. The architecture is admirable, and the urban legends are something to talk about.
I think enamored might be a little too much to describe our interest in it. But I have to agree. The mansion is beautiful, even with the renovations. They kept the stained glass windows, too. They are magnificent.
Oh, you've seen it.
I was there for a few hours to attend a housewarming party. The invitation was for my parents, but they couldn't make it. My mum used to work as a private tutor for the Evans. Hannah, right?
Ah, I know of her. Her husband, too. Who doesn't?
Well, we didn't until completely by accident.
Luxborn's most popular couple.
Something falls behind his eyes, the warmth in them suddenly gone, like he's reliving a painful distant memory and seeing it play right in front of him. Huh. It disappears almost as soon as it surfaces, but that look has unsettled something in me.
Is something the matter?
Nothing much. But you know, you're already like a daughter to me. So if you could, do be careful with the friends you make.
Interesting.
Is this about the rights, sir?
Just a friendly advice from an old man. Don't think much about it. Anyway, I have to leave now. Can't miss my weekly serving of bear claws.
Huh. I guess there's more to the rights than it seems.
Say hi to your parents at the detective inspector for me, will you? I wish you luck with all that research.
I will. Thanks for this, Andrew.
Andrew gives my shoulder a light squeeze, the gesture a younger me has always appreciated, and quickly crosses the street after. I watch him until he disappears behind the door to a cafe, until the doubts swimming inside my head find a moment to rest. Whatever his business is with the rights isn't anything I should concern myself about. But somehow, in the grand scheme of things now, all of it feels oddly relevant. The how, though, I've yet to find out. And I'm hoping the library will give me the answers I want this time. And I'm hoping the librarian doesn't chase me as a headless corpse and I'm running through a maze of bookshelves. That'd be scary. Why did I bring that up? Oh, no reason. On a gloomy Sunday morning, the library is especially empty. The second floor in particular. I've always considered this place to be a sanctuary, a respite away from the hubbub of the city. As a child, I grew up reading books here, spending hours here to no end, poring over the pages, living out fantasies in my head until my parents called me home. Now it feels nothing like it. The silence is smothering, suffocating. Even with how clean they've kept the microfiche room, how the entire small of it, lacks a speck of dust or clutter, breathing is a struggle for air. Not far into my stay, I begin to long for the noise outside, and perhaps as a way to calm this unease, I start to hum a tune. Imagine that. Really? The London Bridge thing? Okay. Why, of all things, it has to be that silly nursery rhyme? I have not an inkling. It does its job, however. It fills the lull with something far less awkward, far less deafening, and that is enough for a distraction. I have business here. No time for silly daydreams, only important work to attend to. Even if there's a possibility of it being fruitless by some means, it feels like I have to do it. If not for me, then for the people who have been affected by this... What do we even call this? A haunting? Yes. A Halloween prank gone wrong? No. A curse? Yes. If Isabella were here, what would she say? Would she panic? Will she be angry I only listen to her now? It all stems from that one moment in the movie house, doesn't it? We could have avoided this had we only taken her warnings to heart. One stupid mistake is all it took to send our normal lives in a downward spiral. Frankly, I'm no longer sure if I'm angry at myself for it or at the universe for throwing us into this mess. But we can only make do of what little we have, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Going here might not be the right decision, but it's a start.
A good start.
It doesn't take much time for me to find what I need. A microfiche of old newspapers, long kept in special storage cabinets at the far end of the restricted section. The year is 1620s and beyond, before the city of Luxburn even exists in the records, when the mansion has just been built, and Anselm is nothing more but a small, sleepy hamlet near a river. A lot of pieces are missing. Days, sometimes several consecutive weeks without any records remaining. Often it goes on for years. Troublesome, but as it is, I'm lucky enough to find anything at all, considering how far I'm looking back. Can't be picky now. Can't waste time mulling over what record keepers of the old could have done to make this a breeze for me.
I can still work with this.
The faint whir of the microfiche machine keeps me company as I go over each slide, each image, hoping for something that goes beyond what the local lore knows. There are snippets, little mentions of the family that once settled in the house here and there, the usual singing of praises for the couple who helped bring up what was once a tiny settlement to a buzzing town. Nothing substantial, nothing I didn't know before. It continues on like this for a good while, until I come by the years after their deaths. The people of Anselm might have loved Lord William and Lady Elizabeth Ermengarde, mourned their passing, and held them in high esteem in the years after, but it was their daughter that was remembered fondly by the townspeople. If her parents built this town, Lady Charlotte was the one who made it prosper. Remarkable, considering it was a period of recovery from a bout of plague that killed half the town's population, including her parents. Huh. Put stop to local slave trade. What's surprising, though, apparently her time also marked more than superficial changes to the place. She moved things, changed laws, altered old customs and traditions. If they were done in a woman's whimsy, it doesn't say, but she seems capable enough for more than that. The gist of it is, the town she rebuilt, it's what eventually grew to become Luxbourne City, while the nearby Anselm village remained as it was, a relic of the old. A frown swiftly forms on my face.
So, why is there a need to hide this?
One by one, I try to recall every lesson I've gone through, every book, paper, and journal I've read. None of those ever mentioned this. It's always the lord and lady of the house, their endearing child, always an afterthought to those anecdotes, the one who always took her life in the end. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming the ghost is Charlotte, right? Never someone who restored a town from the brink of collapse or brought new ideas to it. Was she, like, burned as a witch or something? Because people didn't like her changing things? Is it because she's a woman?
That pisses me off.
Granted, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Not all aspects of her can be considered admirable. But this is history. Some parts are bound to naturally delve into unpleasant territory whether I like it or not. Witch hunts, for example, become common near the end of her life, which would have been completely unremarkable and might have gone to become a mere footnote in history if it didn't involve Lady Charlotte and the very slave she saved. It caused quite a stir, enough to leave almost a week's worth of clippings. The girl was eventually burned, condemned by an entire town. Who, the slave girl, maybe? At the word of Lady Charlotte alone. So maybe the ghost is a slave. But this doesn't really have anything to do with this curse, does it? Unless that woman following us and the slave are the same person. A tale of revenge? How cliché. However, with the lack of accurate photographs, it's impossible to tell. Maybe if I squint, the illustration would start resembling her? Maybe the illustration will move and the ghost will reach a hand out of it and scare the living daylights out of me, except that was the TV movie and not the book. In the book, they reached into the picture instead and came out all cut up, but I digress. But in my field, it doesn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way. I'll be the laughingstock of the community. I think that should be one word. Otherwise, it's a stock that is laughing.
This isn't going anywhere.
Mentally exhausted, I take a careful step away from the screen, pressing a palm to my tired eyes. The lack of ample light in this area doesn't help. A headache already threatens to form at the back of my head, yet I'm nowhere near figuring things out. This is simply too much to take in all at once.
I should have asked for someone's help.
Now I'm at a dead end. I start gathering everything around me and placing them back in their respective envelopes for storage. The motions no need for apostrophe. The motion's no longer new after volunteering here a number of times. I didn't make much mess anyway, considering the lack of materials available to begin with. I'll have to look somewhere else. The where remains unknown, though. But just as I'm about to slip the last of the slides in, something catches my attention. This time, the slave girl is grinning in the picture, and it's creepy. My hand pauses, the microfiche halfway through its protective sleeve. This is one of the few I've set aside without taking a careful look at. It seems like a gossip column at first glance, but upon a closer look, I slide it back to the reader, gently turning the dials in search of the page. It takes some time, but once the image becomes clear... Oh, they do kind of look like Luke and Hannah. Too bad they misspelled the headline. Betrothal? It should be betrothal. They must have had this drawing commissioned for this announcement. I don't doubt it. The details are far more intricate, their likeness likely closer to how they might have appeared at the time. They're both recognizable this way, closer to those paintings I've seen in the mansion. However, it's the man standing beside her, Edward Godfrey, according to the article, that caught my attention previously. Her first cousin and eventually her fiancé. Maybe it's the posture, the manner in which he holds himself, or maybe it's the shape of his eyes, though I can't be too certain about that until I've gotten a better reference. Nevertheless, there is a resemblance. He looks eerily like... My head snaps up, glowering at whoever's running in the floor above. Any day I'd march upstairs and reprimand whoever it is.
This is a library, for heaven's sake.
But now isn't the time. I've gotten what I need. Without wasting another minute, I hit the machine's print button for a copy of the page, while my other hand moves to put everything back into storage. Edward fucking Godfrey. A ragged exhale slips from me. Relief, perhaps? Or maybe this is already exhaustion. So is that what we're doing? Luke and Hannah are like descendants or reincarnations or something of the Ermengarde couple? Regardless, soon I'm closing my eyes as I wait for the printer to finish, if only to stave off a headache building up from everything. Sometime I've even begun humming the same song again, for comfort. Despite my doubts about this, despite all the tension in my shoulders, this may be a small find, but at least I can start somewhere. We can start somewhere. There's a way out of this. I know it. The printer sputters to a halt. However, its sound isn't what makes me snap my eyes open. Oh, that's terrifying. We haven't gotten environmental manipulation before. I mean, there's the bloody lockers, but we haven't gotten like an Otherworld and Silent Hill vibe. A feeling. A chilly brush of air behind my back. Yeah, Kylie hummed this before Hauntings, and now we're doing it? So now the ghost, I guess, is doing it. Brief enough for something sickening to suddenly lodge itself in my throat while I take in my surroundings. Now, we had a guarantee of Becca's survival because we knew the party was going to happen. Now we don't! It's that suffocating sensation again, creeping to every part of me, crawling under my skin, draining me little by little of any strength. From that day in the mansion, from that brief moment at the school, without delay I grab the papers and make a quick beeline for the door. Cool! We're actually just going. I mean, we're going to be stopped, but, you know, still, good for us for trying. On the ceiling, too? My whole body freezes.
What are you doing, Miss Pink?
The voice of Kylie? This is a new one. The ghost just doing voices? I mean, I guess you could argue she was doing it before in the guise of Kylie, but just absent of taking a form? I hold my breath, not daring to make any noise. For a little while, only the sound of papers crumbling under my grasp fills the room. The excitement from earlier, gone instantly. Replaced by a cold, seeping dread spreading throughout my limbs. But more than the fear is the anger. It pains me to hear her using my own student's voice against me, and more than once I believed it was really her. She has no right.
Why don't you play with me?
Although she hasn't made a move, if there isn't a wall behind me, I'll probably take a step back. Anything to put a distance between us, no matter how small, as long as I'm out of her reach. One more time. But I steel myself, because if I do fall back, turn away from her, I'll be left with no way out. I am not dying here.
You think you scam me?
I mean, come on, come on, come on.
Miss Pink, don't be so rude. I'm waiting.
I'm not afraid of you, you spook. This is one Scotswoman. You aren't getting into an early grave without a fight.
Ooh, slipped into the accent there, a little heavier.
Come at me.
Oh, you took it too far. You took it too far. You don't scare me as like a, well, okay, but directly calling the ghost out to come get you, I wouldn't have done that. I expected she'll lunge, prove to me what a monster she is. I love that smile. Instead, all she gives me is a smile, twisted and gnarled. It's as if time has crawled to a stop at the sight of it. A split-second decision. And before I know it, my body shifts. Eyes closing in anticipation, hand grabbing whatever's solid enough on the nearby table and hurling it at her. Terrible idea, but you gotta do something. I don't bother looking if whatever I threw hits its mark. I run. As fast as my legs can carry me. I love the idea that you just clocked it in the head, like, ah! And then you just leave. Despite my heart threatening to burst out of my chest. So did we hit like a person or something? But in this maze of bookshelves, the whole place almost devoid of people. Is there even a place safe enough I can escape to? That is a yikes for me. Heading upstairs will only embed us further in this nightmare, but maybe the ghost will lose track of us. Head for the door, that's the exit, but it's also obvious. This, I think, is a life or death decision. I'm going to go for the door. If there's one, it is out of this room, out of this place, as far away as anyone can get from her. I can think about the rest of what I can do after I'm outside when there are other people I can ask for help. When she's not chasing after me like this. There's no hesitation in my steps as I race for the restricted section's door, head downstairs, and barrel straight for the library's exit. Towards safety, in a desperate bid for my life. Library rules be damned! I can no longer hear her behind me, but I'm not taking any chances. A breath almost escapes me as I near the door. A little more. When out of nowhere, a library cart careens from a blind corner and slams to my sides? Ow, but if someone's there, then the ghost might hesitate? My back hits the floor with a hard thud, the impact completely knocking the breath out of me. The copper tang of blood gradually spreads over my tongue as I fight to get my bearings back. Yeah, we might have bitten our tongue. I force myself to move, even with the excruciating pain coursing through my limbs. The exit's almost there, if only I can... But there's no moment's respite. Really? That was the wrong decision? This is why I save. The next thing I know, there's heavy weight atop me, and cold digits slide around my neck, tight like a vice, pressing, closing in, leaving me gasping for air. Those crazy eyes. Through my blurred vision, I can only make out the hateful gleam, the spite in her eyes as she looms over my body and her grip on my throat grows tighter. Desperation kicks in. My nails dig into her wrists. That works as I struggle against her firm grip, trying to pry her fingers away.
Let go. Let me go.
Oh no! Keep the slider within the green... Oh, goddamn. How do I... I don't... Oh, I see. Well, we're dead. I wasn't ready. Too strong. Her hold on me is too strong. My lungs begin to ache, burning with the lack of air, the pain growing worse with every second I writhe under her punishing grip.
Somebody help me.
Darkness starts to fill the edges of my vision, and soon the world fades. Yeah, let's continue. I'll reload just to make sure we do the thing. Head for the door. Bapa-doopa-dapa-doopa-da. Spooky time. Ah! Alright. Got it. Yeah, I see it. Okay, moving the arrow's direction. I got it. Okay. Did we really just overpower the ghost? So that's an option? We theoretically could just punch her in the face. That is a possibility. I don't think twice. My limbs are moving on their own before what I did could fully register in my brain and my lungs could recover. Behind me, she lets out a cry, sharp, loud, and thunderous against the empty walls of the library. But the fear her wails bring compares nothing to the relief washing over me when I finally make it out. Whoo! My knees buckle as soon as my feet hit the pavement, its surface cold and hard against my skin. I've only been in there for a few hours, about 1 or 2 probably. I don't know anymore. It feels like an eternity all the same. My breathing hasn't slowed down yet, and I don't expect it to after going through that. I probably look the most undignified creature on a Sunday morning right now, out of breath, disheveled, slumped here with a bloody lip and all. But at present, I simply can't bring myself to care, even when a few passers-by start giving me strange looks. Strange looks. Stare at me all you want, I don't give a single shite. I'm alive. I'm safe. This isn't the end yet, but I'm safe. And inside my bag is something that could get us out of this mess. Nothing definite yet, I don't want to get my hopes up, but it's still something. If Isabella is here, I'm sure she'll feel the same. She'll even be the first one who'll put her faith on it. Wherever this will lead us to is a victory on its own. Now all that's left is to find the others, the rest of us trapped in this bloody nightmare. Right on cue, as if an answer to my previous thought, my mobile phone lets out a beep. I pick it up, simply hoping it'll be one of them. Only it's a voicemail that greets me. From Ashton. There's a pang of disappointment, of course, but it brings some reassurance that nothing's happened to at least one of them.
Hey, Becca, call me back when you're free. We need to talk. ASAP.
Perfect. He ends it right there, the message less than a minute long, curt, and gives nothing away. I let it ease my worries regardless and do as he asks. Great, because this too is another triumph for us. One less thing, fewer, to worry about. Finally, we're moving to Ashton. And I'm assuming... Does that mean we close the game out with Luke? How bizarre. But anyway, look at this. Again, we're slowly moving forward with the timeline, right? We're starting at the party. Interesting. Parties have never really been my thing, but you know what? It's time to stop the installment. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today, didn't we? We completed Becca's storyline. Incredible! And we got a very, very direct haunting, where we learned something interesting. I mean, I know the ghost can murder people, so it's got to be physical in that way, but it still kind of surprised me that we can just throw a ghost around. If we're strong enough, we could just, I don't know, beat up the ghost, maybe? I suppose that's an option. It feels weird, but I guess we can do it. In any case, we were not really in a position to be doing that. We had to get the hell out of that library, but we've got a lead. We have a potential direction to go to. We can call up Ashton, and now that we're playing as Ashton, we're going to deal with whatever party aftermath we're going to deal with, sleep at Becca's place, find out whatever we need to call her for, and then get her called back. Maybe we can bring this story closer to its conclusion. Until next time, everyone.